That is Derek, soon to be Barrett in that chair that you're seeing right there. I'm Rob. We're hanging out with you on this Wednesday. So I understand we're, according to Gigi, we're at about 125 likes. So let's see what we can do, friends.
Let's
get that bad boy up. Let's get that bad boy up. All right. So a couple things, guys. Let's take a look at the draft from the Eagles, because last year was an interesting situation where you didn't necessarily have to get contributions directly, and you didn't really, from your first 3 picks, really any of your draft picks didn't give you monster contributions. You got special teams from the Kobe Dean, a little bit here and there from others, but it was really more Reed Blankenship than anybody else who was undrafted. That won't be the case this year. Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Tyler Steen, Sidney Brown, Kaylee Ringo. Let's just deal with those guys right now. Mm-hmm. You could really make a case that if not starting, every single one of those guys will contribute. Barrett, I'll start with you on this one. I think Carter, if he stays healthy, when all is said and done at the end of the season, has more snaps than any other defensive tackle. Agree or disagree?
I agree, because he's not a situational football player. He'll be out there in all situations. He just won't be in pass plays like they probably will do Nolan, I'm sorry, not Nelson. Nolan will probably play situational football, like on 3rd and long, 2nd and long, where they need pass rush. When you look at Fletch is a little older, but he's not a situational football player either. He can play all 4 downs also, but he's older. Carter's younger. When you look at Davis is a situational football player. He's going to be on 1st and 2nd down, run downs. Hassan Reddick can play all of them, but there are times where they'll take him out on like goal line situation and everything. Carter will play all those. You know what I'm saying? You usually take the smaller guys out in those goal line situations, those 4th and 1s when they want beef up there. So he'll get the majority of the snaps because he's young, number 1. Number 2, he plays all the downs. And number 3, he's a first-round draft choice, a number 9 pick. They want to optimize that value they have in him. So he will play more snaps than just about anybody on the team, on that defensive line.
Right. And Derek, I think there's, I don't want to gloss over what Barrett just laid out. So if you want to jump in on that, but I think there's a really distinct chance that Sidney Brown is one of your starting safeties too. Where do you go?
I agree 100%. You know what? Illinois is never really known for having outstanding football teams, but they do turn out some great individual talent. And I think Brown has the capability of pushing Reed Blankenship to the point where he could win that job coming out of training camp. I love his physicality. I love everything about him. He comes up, he makes hits. You can play him down in a box. You can move him around. The real fascination with me with all of these pieces is, what is Matt Patricia? We can say what we want to say about Matt Patricia as a head coach, but he is highly respected as a coordinator, moving chess pieces around and developing young players. And I think he's a great addition to this coaching staff to go along with whatever Sean decides to do. I think Sidney Brown has all the attributes to push. And that's not a knock against Blankenship, because I thought Blankenship, although he went through the growing pains, he has some good moments, he has some not so good moments. He has the capability of being a starter in the National Football League. But I think if this young man, Brown, if he plays up to capability, he could be one of your starting safeties coming out of training camp.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to tell you this. I played with some Hall of Fame safeties. I played with, 2 of the best safeties in the game. 2 Hall of Famers. I played with Brian Dawkins. I played with Troy Polamalu. I'm not saying that he has the physical attributes of a Brian Dawkins or a Troy Polamalu, but I do see the same type of ferociousness the way this kid plays. He wants to be great. He has the mindset that they have as far as being the best player he can be and optimizing, every thread of athleticism he has in his body. He's going to play that type of game. So when I look at him, I see a guy that just will not be denied. He's going to be great. He's not going to be denied a spot on the 53-man roster. he will not be on this team and not be a part of the game plan going forward. He'll probably start off on like big nickel situation. Big nickel being they take a linebacker out, they have 2 linebackers, and then you have 3 safeties in the game. Because he has the versatility to go out there and line up man-to-man against receivers. He can play running backs and tight ends, cover those guys. But he also has a knack and a nose for the ball. I like this kid, even when we were talking about the pre-draft process of when I watched film on him, I'm sitting there trying to watch film on Witherspoon, but I can't stop looking at Brown the whole time. I'm like, what is going on? This guy's flashing more than Witherspoon. So a lot of the times you can be great at cornerback when you have great safeties behind you. And that's kind of what was going on in Illinois. I mean, these guys played in Lovie Smith's defense. So Lovie, I mean, you got to be able to play, you got to be able to tackle, you got to be able to cover, you got to be able to do everything in a Lovie Smith defense. And I think that's why this kid is going to be great, because he understands where he's supposed to be at, how he's supposed to be there, and get there with an attitude. So this man, I love this kid. I see he's going to be starting. If it's not day one, at least by the 4th game of the season.
What, in your estimation, what are the odds that Steen can get the guard spot over Juergens?
He has a lot to learn still. He's unpolished. He's strong. He's aggressive. He's a mauler. And it'd be great to be a guard. I think he's more of a guard than a tackle. He's got to get that same knack, that quick twitch that the rest of those guys have. And it takes a little bit. You got to go to Stoughton University, and he may have to take a night class or 2. He might have to take some some summer school at Stoughton University for him to learn it. But once you learn it, man, I mean, it's great how Stoutland took what Jason Peters had and is incorporated into everybody's game in that on that offensive line. That jumping the ball, jumping the snap count, getting out there to a spot and ready to, fight as soon as you get to that spot. That's what Stoutland University brings out in players. I thought that, Sting was a little slow off the ball at times. And you can't do that, when, in the NFL. He's going to have to learn that. He's a powerful guy, but he's got to be a more explosive type of guy. It's a difference between a powerful guy and being an explosive guy. You can be powerful, but you're slow. Right. You're methodical. You know what I'm saying? Even though he has great technique, he's kind of lumbering with it. You got to get that explosiveness in you, and the explosiveness will help you out because you get into a point, you're ready at that point, you're ready to fight him right then and there. That's what he's got to learn. He's got to learn that ability. But he has everything else that you want from a NFL offensive lineman. He can come in, he'll start. He's going to start at some point at the guard position. You can believe that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great opportunity for him to learn under Stoutland, learn under the other guys,
Absolutely.
Get acclimated, indoctrinated into it. And then if Kelsey retires during the center in 24, he steps in 24 at the guard spot.
Yep. But the chance of him starting now, he'll have an opportunity to be a swing guy. He'll probably be a swing guard, swing tackle for this team, But, he's an Alabama offensive lineman. Stoutland loves Alabama offensive linemen. That was the direct pick from Stoutland. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And it's not like this kid is not worth the pick that we would go 3rd round. It's not like he's not worth it. Mm-hmm. He's worth that pick. He's probably worth a little higher than that. He has all the fundamentals to be a really good player. He just got to learn that explosiveness. And that just comes with time.
Yep. Yeah, Derek, I don't think there's any question that these guys are going to play a big part. There's opportunities, especially on the defensive side of the ball, where there weren't last year. You were stacked. You had guys up against you. Like Carter can get right in there. Sidney Brown can get right in there. Nolan Smith in a rotation can get right in there. And that's if everybody stays healthy. And then Ringo in the nickel a little bit. How are you going to utilize Ringo?
You know what? If it wasn't for Bradbury and Slay being there, I would say Ringo would be one of your starters. You look at the pedigree he comes from. You look at his speed. You look at his size. He's not afraid to combat. He would make mistakes, as all rookies do, but he has that physical attribute. The best thing about him is he's got two guys in front of him, and he can absorb a wealth of knowledge from. Two guys highly decorated, two guys who are proven commodities, who have exceeded the laws of averages for a lifespan of an NFL player, and who have been paid well for their performances on the field. I love everything about Ringo. The fact, we always talked about for years, if you come from Alabama and you play in the pros, you got a good chance of not just making a roster, but excelling at this next level. For the last couple of years, it's been the Georgia players now, when you really think about it. So if anybody comes out of Georgia over the last couple of years, I like them on my roster because of the pedigree, the level of which they've played at, and how they've excelled. Several players, just like when Clemson had that dominant defense a few years back when they had Farrell and all those guys.
Great run there.
This Georgia program, oh my goodness. This Georgia program now has the same type of players, same type of run. And and they're making a transition to the pros. We've talked about it enough. Nakobe Dean and Jordan Davis fell into the perfect landing scenario because they didn't have to be the man right out the bat. They had people they could learn from, watch. As anxious as they were to play, as much as they might have wanted to play, it was the best scenario for them because now it's time to unleash them based on who left this program. And the way this roster stands right now, it is their time to shine. Now you got the next wave coming. And at the very minimum, I love what Barrett said about Steen, but I still feel that Stoutland is going to do everything possible, even though he played tackle. Stoutland is going to do everything possible to give this young man a chance to slide into that right guard spot.
Yep.
I think it's Cam Jurgens right now, but I think Stoutland is going to take extra time with Steen to see if we can get him up to speed to plug him in between two all pros.
Well, Kaylee Ringo, we're talking about one of the best athletes in this draft. At 6'2", 210 pounds, running a 4.3 40. That sounds like a unicorn to me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So to be that big and that fast, everybody's talking about we're going to move him to safety. Now he's going to stay a corner, but he's going to learn about what it is to be a corner in the NFL from two really good players. Well, three really good players. You got, Slay, Bradbury, and Maddox. So he's going to learn the game from those guys. And he's going to be they're going to get him in the rotation also. He's going to play a little bit because he is the future. They want him to be the future. They want him to be a mainstay because the athleticism that this guy possesses is just off the chart, man. Think of how good it could be, man. I mean, I just watching him play in, Georgia. He closed the national championship 2 years ago with the pick, took it to the house. He's just learning really how to be a corner. Like we're talking about a world-class sprinter. He was a world-class sprinter.
That's right.
While he was working in Arizona.
He's only 20 years old.
Right. He's young and dumb.
He turns 21 in June. So, I mean, like to say there's not a lot of development years in front of this guy is crazy. He is. Look, I think there's a couple things. He was probably not thrilled that he lasted the fourth round. I think that'll motivate him. And I think he's, and maybe part of that is a wake-up call to him. This is why you lasted to the fourth round. So good. I think he has an opportunity. And by the time, give him a couple years, you're going to have, Slay and Bradbury are going to be like 32, 33. It's time. It's time to transition into him. So I think he's going to be awesome, man. I think he's going to be awesome. And you combine that with DeAndre Swift, who's only 24, getting right on the field, right away.
Man.
Yeah.
I mean, just the Swift pick, man, it's going to be. This is the perfect system for him. Now he's not a 1,000-yard back. I'm sorry, everybody. Everybody wants him to be, he's not a 1,000-yard back. He's not going to be like Miles Sanders. He is not a 1,000-yard back, but he is a rotational piece that they have with this running back by committee, and it's going to be perfect for him in this system. Imagine him and Kenneth Gainwell in the backfield at the same time. As a defense, when you have 21 personnel, that's 2 running backs and 1 tight end. What do you usually put in? You put in your base defense. That means 3 linebackers in the game. It's like a heavier formation. But that's a matchup nightmare for defenses because if you bring in 3 linebackers, that means one of those linebackers, if one of those running backs leaves from out of the backfield and goes lines with slot, you've got a linebacker lined up over a guy that can run routes like a wide receiver.
Right.
He's faster than linebackers. But then if they're playing nickel, when they just have 2 linebackers in, and they bring a safety in or a cornerback in, he goes out there and lines up over the running back or who it is, whether it's Swift or whether it's Gainwell. Then he's too little. He's not big enough to handle the type of pressure of trying to reroute a guy that big and that strong, and it's still fast.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a matchup nightmare that you're going through as a defensive coordinator. What defense do I put out there? What do I trust?
Mm-hmm.
And if you have a nickel defense out there and you got both of them in the backfield, use one as a lead back, and then use the other one as the guy running the rock. You can run the ball on anybody then. So it's just
imagine if they put Penny. Yeah, imagine if they put Penny and Swift in the backfield at the same time. Who's the linebacker keying on in this case? You know, are you worried about? Are you more worried about Penny hitting you between the tackles, or you floating Swift out in the flats and dump a pass off to him in the flat? And as we know, when he gets an open space, Swift is a nightmare in open space.
Yeah,
yeah. So what do you key on there? Yeah, yep. What are you keying on, dude? The wealth of talent they have now in that backfield, we never saw this coming. You know, key is you got 2 backs that have had a history of injuries, but if you can keep them upright and breathing, along with Gainwell and even Boston's, you know, what do you key on them from a linebacking situation? Forget about the down linemen. What are the linebackers keying on?
Yeah, I mean, just think of how deadly that RPO is with Jalen potentially keeping it himself in the run game. So what that's going to open up for the passing game.
I mean, Rob, you have to keep 8 men in the box. You have to keep 8 men in the box.
Which means you're going to get singled up AJ or Devontae or Goddard.
Come on, man. It's just not fair, man. It's not fair. Because you have to keep 8 men in the box because they'll bludgeon you to death with the running game. They'll just pound you to death with the running game. Bam, bam. They just run it up your mouth. Just and making you like it. And then when you know, all right, we're tired of running the ball. Now we're just gonna pass it. Now we got AJ and Devontae out there just one-on-one.
Yeah.
Oh, that's some bad football there, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. The offense, man, I'll tell you. Other than maybe Kansas City because Mahomes is at the helm. What offense? I mean, Buffalo's go. I'm trying to think about offenses here. So, in terms of teams that are going to be able to score the ball, Buffalo, Kansas City. You know, since he's going to put up some points because of Burrow.
Maybe the Jets. Maybe the Jets.
Maybe the Jets. Good point.
What they have now.
Yep.
Let's see.
Detroit can score. Detroit's got some weapons.
Detroit can score.
I'll tell you, it's going to be a really good defense. I mean, a really good offense now is the Saints. With Derek Carr now to be throat.
Yeah.
Remember Juwan Johnson? You got Taysom Hill at the
Olave.
At the tight ends. You got Olave. You got Michael
Thomas is coming back.
Yeah, if he comes back, yeah.
And Shaheed, you know how Shaheed plays, man. He's a threat. He can be a threat. You know, I just think that, and then Alvin Kamara, Jamal Williams just went down there also. So Jamal Williams will take his place until Alvin Kamara.
Yeah, whatever's going on with Kamara. Yeah,
right.
I look out of that group though. I'd probably take the Eagles as number 2 behind Kansas City.
Well, as far as scoring offense,
yeah,
I agree 100%. I'm looking at scoring offense. Yeah. Let's see. I'm looking at a couple of other offense. We don't know what the offense is going to look like with Sean Payton at the helm now. So you look at the talent they have there.
Yeah, right.
That could be a much compared to what they were under Nathaniel Hackett. Let's see who else has potential here. Well, if the 49ers got their quarterback situation resolved, 49ers can score. They're a more grinded out type team, but they can score. You know what? As funny as it sounds, Seattle.
They put up a lot of points.
Also.
Yeah, I mean, last year it was Kansas City 29. I'm talking about regular season 29.2, Buffalo 28.4, Eagles 28.1. And Dallas is going to score too.
You know who's going to score some points, man? A lot of points.
Yeah, Dallas is going to score.
I think Pittsburgh is going to finally open things up for Kenny Pickett. Because they went out and got Allen Robinson this year. They already have George Pickens. Yeah. We already know Deontay Johnson. Everybody's forgetting about him, but he's probably a top 10 receiver in this league. He is a threat, man. And then tight end position they got
Freiermuth.
Freiermuth there.
That's right.
They just went and drafted the big Georgia tight end Darnell Washington.
Oh, that guy. Oof.
They and then running the rock, they got Najee Harris, bro. That team there's gonna be.
No, if Pickett develops off of what you saw last year, definitely,
right.
I'm definitely say so. Well, look, one of the areas the Eagles do need to get better at, guys, is against the run. And they were middle of the pack.
Yes.
They were 17 last year, a little less than middle of the pack. They gave up 121.6 per game, and we saw it in the Super Bowl. So this is really where you're talking about Jalen Carter, you talk about Jordan Davis taking that next step, still getting productivity out of Fletcher Cox. Milton Williams stepping in there, but that group has to be better collectively stuffing that run.
Absolutely.
And with all of what you just said, as good as it looks on paper, I don't know if it will get better. We don't know. I don't know. I was shocked at how inconsistent they were against the run last year when you had Hargrave, Cox.
Hargrave is not a run stopper.
I know it. I know it. Yeah. You had TJ Edwards in the middle. I mean, I don't know if it will be better, to be honest. Because as much as we love the prospects of Nakobe Dean stepping in there, the prospects of the new kids coming up, I mean, you don't know until you see it. It looks good on paper, but we don't know. We honestly don't know.
Nicholas Morrow is a small linebacker. Nakobe Dean, we know he's a small linebacker.
Yes, he's 6'2", 15.
Yeah.
We just don't know.
Yeah.
Two small linebackers, but then you look at. I think the running the rock on will be a lot better because you do have Jordan Davis. He'll be in the mix. They're probably running a little more 50 front. 50 front meaning you cover the center and both guards up with defensive linemen. So I'll put Jordan Davis over the center and then put Fletcher Cox and Jalen Carter over the two guards, and then on the outside you have Nolan Smith on one side and Hassan Reddick on the other side. I think that'll be a pretty good run defense because you'll keep your linebackers covered up. You know what I'm saying? Those guards just can't get to those linebackers real quick, and they'll give them more of a chance to go up and make plays around the linebacker line of scrimmage. The only thing is, I guess they'd be all right on pass rush too because we know that Jalen Carter can rush the pass, and we know Fletcher Cox can rush the pass, and we know those two guys on the outside can too.
Nolan,
the only thing
Nolan
is,
can.
Yeah. But I don't know as far as running the rock. Can we make a 50 front or base front? I don't think so. They're gonna have to stop the run with just their front two. I will tell you this: Hargraves is not a run stopper. There were plenty of times I saw him getting drove 5 yards down the field and get dumped on his head. You know what I'm saying? But then pass rushing situations, he was great at it, but he just couldn't stop the run. He couldn't get off blocks in the run game, which hurt us in the run.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no question. So that's an area of improvement. I think. Look, when you're talking about Jalen, he had such a great year. But if there's something you'd like to see him just get better at, progress at, would it be a little more hang in the pocket rather than take off as quickly, or what would it be for you for Jalen?
Man, you know what I mean? I can't pick Jalen's game apart because he runs with the offense. Whatever the offense is telling him to do, he does it. Like on RPOs. If they give him the read to throw it, he's going to throw it. If they give him the read to run it, he's going to run it. If they give him the read to keep it, he's going to keep it. He runs the offense the way it's supposed to be run. So when you run RPOs, when you run read options, if the defense presents this to him, he's going to do it. He's going to run it the way it's supposed to be run. He's not going to freestyle for it, which that's what you want from a quarterback. If the read dictates it, that's what he does. And that's what defenses started to do. They would give him the read. All right, you're going to keep it. We're going to stay wide. We're going to crash it. That means you're going to have to keep the ball. And that's smart by defensive coordinators. They won. They won that matchup. You know what I'm saying? Like the way the read options run is when Jalen is reading with that running back, and if that end crashes down to stop the running back, he's got to pull it from the running back.
Yep.
When he pulls it from the running back, that means he's going to be the one running the ball. He has the ball now. And we don't want him to get hit like that, but that's what the defense is giving him to read. That's what they're dictating to do. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it's defensive coordinators get paid also. You know, if you don't want Jalen to run the ball, you're gonna have to run a play that's just a basic run play. Then you're just gonna have to hand it off. You know what I'm saying? Tell them, hey, run 15 lead, hand it off to the running back, and let's go.
And let's face it, I don't have the numbers obviously in front of me, but what percentage of Jalen's runs were dictated by defenses him out of the pocket, disrupting the timing, whether it was a straight up blitz or a delayed blitz coming from somewhere? There were a lot of times he took off because the timing was messed up. Whoever he was waiting for to clear hadn't cleared yet, and you got to go. You got to go. Right. And he has that physical attribute and that mechanism in his head. He has to go. Now, I'm sure it's a decent percentage. We know there's a number of called run plays for him, but there's another percentage where you just got to step up and go, and he finds the hole, and he makes the defense pay in that regard. So, you know, we talk about, I don't want to run it 17 times a game, and I don't. But sometimes out of necessity, because he's facing better defenses this upcoming year. Now opponents have that much more film on him and this Eagles offense, you know, so they're going to do even more things to try to disrupt the timing as well. And so it's going to be predicated on what defenses try to cuff him, which will determine at least a decent percentage of the time whether he has to run the ball or if he has time to dump it off, whether it's to the tight end, the back, or one of his wide receivers.
You're right. I mean, that's basically what you have to do, man. The defense is going to force a certain read, and Jalen's going to run it the way he's supposed to be run. Let's just call run plays and just roll with it, man. We have a good enough offensive line. We can block the guys in front of us. Let's go.
Yep.
Right.
Let's go.
Yep.
Let's go.
All right. I don't know if you guys saw this or not yesterday, but Jonathan Gannon finally met with the media and addressed the tampering thing. It was very
What?
It was very very rehearsed, sort of canned. Hey, I made a mistake. Monty Osenfort made a mistake. We're moving on. Apologetic to the organization, all that kind of stuff. So it was very vanilla, to say the least, right? But I was an interesting. Adam Schefter was on 97.5 The Fanatic today and said, one of the ramifications. First of all, the Eagles aren't happy about it, but one of the ramifications of it was that Vic Fangio maybe potentially could have been the Eagles defensive coordinator. It wasn't a guarantee that was going to happen. But it didn't end up playing out that way. And the Eagles, I would think behind closed doors are pretty pissed off at some of the things, but I don't think it's the end of the world, but I do think that it's something of note here. And if I'm Arizona, I'm wondering about my coach and my GM for the way this thing was handled. Again, I don't think it's the end of the world, but I think it's something.
Oh yeah, man, that's a dirty organization, man. You look what happened to,
their executive, McDonough.
Yeah. Man, they got burner phones, calling players on burner phones. The guys still got the burner phone. I mean, that's a terrible organization as far as how it's being run. Like we should count it all joy that we have a guy like Howie Roseman, the way he conducts business and the way the owner makes everybody conduct business. It stems from the top. It comes from the top. It comes with the owner, and the owner's not shady. So since the owner's not shady, things are run a certain way.
Right.
Let's call it like it is. You think every team in the National Football League doesn't have some dirt? Okay?
Exactly. Yep. You're right.
It's just that in this instance, Jonathan Gannon and the Arizona Cardinals got caught. You don't think other deals are done the same way?
They are.
And they're just more, secretive about how it's done.
So how does this one get out? How and why does this one get out, whereas others don't?
Well, I think it was more so.
Somebody may have bone to pick.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, they were already having problems internally. They were having problems internally already.
Yeah.
So it was easy for that to come out. But when you look at, I can remember I was playing and I was like, hey, coach, I'm a free agent next year. Holla at your boy. You know what I'm saying? What's up? You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Danny Smith left the Eagles organization. When he left the Eagles organization, he went to Detroit.
Yep.
So when Big Red talked to Big Red talked to Detroit, D. Smith was already there and they had worked out a deal for me to go there anyways. You know what I'm saying? All that stuff, it happens all the way. It's all, smoke and mirrors and everything.
Yep.
You can't tell me that. I was pissed off. Put it like this. I was pissed off when I was playing with the Steelers because we didn't cheat better than the New England Patriots.
Right.
They cheated better than us. So they won all those Super Bowls because they were a better cheater than we were.
Mm-hmm.
I was just pissed off we weren't as good as they were. Put it like that. Why weren't we filming stuff?
Yeah.
Why didn't we gain that advantage? You know what I'm saying? That's what I was thinking to myself. I wasn't thinking all they're cheaters. I was thinking that why couldn't we cheat better than them?
Yeah. I'm told we are up to 166 likes.
So minimum 200 by 130. 200.
All right.
Let's
Got
make
a
it
little
happen.
ways to go. Let's see what we can do. See if we can pick it up, folks. We get to 300. It is Gritty Part 2 from you know who. All right. So let's come back.
Oh, Tone says 170 now.
Oh, okay. We need 130.
Oh.
That's it. That's not much. We can do that.
That's not much at all.
We can do that easy.
No, we
All
got 170 in an hour and 8 minutes.
And an hour
it's a
and
slam
change.
dunk.
Yep, an hour and change. That's all it took. That's all it took. So we're on our way. We are on our way. I don't know if it's good or bad, but we're on our way.
Oh,
All right,
it's
so,
good from where I'm sitting.
Well, so like I said, we have EJ Smith at 2 and Keith Pompey at 2:30. So we're going to do things a little bit differently. Our NFL segment will hit at 1:30. We're going to do a little birthday movie Phillies combo coming back here, guys. I have the lineup already for today. I'll tell you if Harper's in the lineup, if so, where he's at, who's leading off, who should be leading off, and we'll get into all those kind of things. Nola on the mound today for the Phils, so we'll touch on that. We are far from done with the Eagles. EJ Smith on the draft, NFL segment coming up, and then, of course, we'll close it out with Keith Pompey. So we've got a lot of stuff to go for the rest of the way. Let's hit the likes as well. That's Derek. That's Barrett. I'm Rob. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. Time to tell you now about Jim Murray and Principal Financial Group, because finding the right person to trust with your finances and your hard-earned money can be a very, very scary proposition. And I was at the front of that line for a long time. But fortunately enough, I found the right person. I don't want you to have to go through the process that I went through. So I can tell you from personal experience that Jim Murray and Principal Financial Group are people that I trust with my finances, whether it's retirement planning, 401k review, insurance review, small business. All right. You need a little help setting up the employee benefits or something else to get your business off the ground that you're not sure about. Just bounce it off Jim. He is a great resource. I know I've entrusted my IRA, my 401k rollovers to Jim and Principal, and I couldn't be any happier. You will be too. Give him a call. 610-996-4751. 610-996-4751. You could email him as well. Murray, Murray.Jim@Principal.com. That's Murray.Jim@Principal.com.